join Tarcia on this journey to discover the rest of gold.
Welcome to the Adoption Journey podcast. I'm your host, Tarcia Smith, and welcome back to another week and another journey. So today in the building, it's me because this is the 100th episode of the Adoption Journey podcast. And I'm switching seats today. I have the co-host of the Everything Has Changed podcast, Miss Phyllis McCrae, or P. McCrae, or whatever you want to call her. Hey, girl.
Hey, girl. Hey, friend. Hey, friend. Hello. I got her in the hot seat, y'all.
I'm in the hot seat.
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. We're just gonna go for it. I'm gonna take
All right.
deep breath. What has this podcast journey been like for you?
It has been a growth experience. I have grown as a person. I have grown within my story. I have a very different opinion of adoption than I did when the opinion I had of adoption growing up, and the opinion that I have of adoption that I have now looks very different. The awareness I have of myself as an adoptee has changed, all because of the podcast.
Care to share some of the examples?
Yeah. So early on, if you go back and look at some of those early episodes, and I bring this up often, I did say, I did not have any adoption trauma. I went as far as to say, I'm sure my birth mother had trauma, but I didn't have any because I was still very much rainbow, unicorns, and ponies. Now, to my own defense, I came up with that because of the lived experience that I had had with adoption. And I am fortunate to not have a horror story when it comes to adoption. So that's where that mindset came from. Over time, I was like, flag on the play, girl, you got
Hold on.
girl.
Actually,
You do deal with some things. And so now what I say is adoption is trauma, but it looks very different for everybody. Sometimes it's really, really big and really loud. And sometimes it's very, I never want to say it's small, but it's different. And it made me think back on how I was growing up, like very, very needy, very clingy, very people pleaser. I want to be everybody's friend. Why don't you want to be my friend? What do you mean? Very much like that growing up. Breakups, and I don't even mean just like boyfriends, breakups in general, don't do well with them. Still don't do well with them. That's that abandonment stuff. I now know. I didn't have verbiage or language to put to any of that. I was like, this is just who I am, and this is just how I move. And I probably move like this because of the DNA. Now I have verbiage for it.
and that revelation, how did it feel like when you made that connection? Like, wait a minute.
Growth. Growth is hard. Growth is scary. Growth hurts. But growth is necessary. So it felt like all of that. And just me, even at my big age, still growing up.
Always learning.
Always learning.
We're never too old to learn. So many things just came up with me because, like you said, seeing you from the beginning into where you are now, just even in your demeanor, the way you talk about it has changed.
Yeah. Yeah. Because when you talk to, at this point, 99 people, 99 guests, 99 different lived experiences, 99 different adoptees, adoptive parents, birth parents, foster kids, foster youth, aged out of the foster care system. When you talk about all that, you hear these stories, you can't help but to have a new perspective on all these things and then understand, oh, this is why the work is so important. But I didn't know that. This wasn't even work. This was never set out. This was in the beginning, this wasn't the thought, wasn't this. It wasn't
Wow.
this. It was never this.
And
Could
look
not
at
have
God.
paid me $1 million in 2023 because it wasn't ever supposed to be this, at least not in my mind.
And look at God. Look where He's brought you.
Absolutely. I give him all the credit because this is a faith walk. This is I kid and I say I am not smart enough to have come up with all this by myself.
Now, let's not go there.
And what I mean by that is the connections that I've
Sure.
made, the just how things have happened, where to go, the things that have kind of just fallen into my lap. Yeah, that ain't.
Fine.
That's, of course, being in the right place at the right time, being in the right room. And yeah.
When preparation meets opportunity.
But okay.
And God.
Okay.
All over that.
Was it preparation though? You know what? It was.
Yeah.
And it was, I didn't know that. I say, because I know a lot of people are super, super angry about their adoption. Rightfully so. That was not my experience. I was so excited to tell all the people that I was adopted. Yeah. So much so that at some point my mama was like, okay, girl, I tell her.
You're my child now.
Yeah, right. Yeah. You don't tell everybody. It was,
It's okay.
I talk about this early on. It was my show and tell one time. Yeah. And I think that's what happens. And I can only speak from my lived experience. When you are put into a position, a family that's my family. I don't know anything different. I was adopted. I was in the foster care system for a hot second because that's how things had to be back then. Like you couldn't go get your baby from the hospital like you can now. That wasn't a thing. So I was in the system for 5 weeks tops. And when you're placed in a position, especially as a little girl, even having figured out that I was adopted, that I felt loved, I felt safe, felt like I can just be without realizing just being. I didn't feel, even when my mama told me, okay, girl, you don't have to. I didn't take it as, because some people would be like, from adoptive parent standpoint, oh, she was trying to shut you down. And, you got to look at it from her perspective too. I'm sure it was a bit much because as the parent, because she just recently shared with me, like for the first year, it was like being on pins and needles because my birth family could have come back and been like, we changed our mind.
Because back in the day.
Yeah. They still had that window. Yeah. So, but I'm a little in this moment. I don't know none of this. But yeah. And then thinking about how, but this is as the adult Tarcia, how you might have been feeling back then. Like, girl, I just came off the hills of worrying about if somebody was going to come get you.
Yeah.
We can stop now.
Yeah.
I get it.
Because she's fallen in love with this baby girl.
Yeah.
And loving up on you and raising you and with that thing on her shoulder, like, oh
yeah.
my God.
Are they going to come?
Once he's like, okay, she's mine.
Yeah. Yeah. Daddy spoiled me rotten.
Yeah.
Still does at my big age. My very big age. Oh,
He's
Mr.
so
Leon, as y'all call him.
The character. Yeah. Wow. And just the idea to set up a mic and talk about this.
I just wanted to tell my story.
You just like, I'm just going to talk about it.
I was ready to do it. At that point, I had found my birth mother and my brothers and that maternal side of the family. And I hadn't really talked about it. And so I really could have done that in one sitting because each segment is probably about 20 minutes long. But it's because that was all it was ever intended to be. I was just going to tell that And that was it. That's why I did like the little cliffhangers. It was never intended. And in the midst of dropping those episodes, 'cause I did them weekly, I started getting inboxes. And I was like, I have never interviewed anybody before. And my husband was like, well, you better figure it out.
You better learn
Learn.
quickly. And now
And
look at you.
I just dived in. If you, again, go back to some of those earlier episodes, I am figuring it out on the job training, on the fly.
And here we are at
Here
100.
we
But
are at 100.
have you've taken a look back to study yourself, or no? Just let it be.
I just let it be. I drop them and I keep pushing. I do, for the most part, like I still have those internet relationships, if you will.
Yeah.
But as far as going back and looking at, the only one I do see often is because it's on my TikTok page. I see that one and I can see the growth. I can see the lighting. I can see the background. I see it. But
Yeah.
and then clips and Instagram clips. If I go back, I can see it. But do I go back and
Just
watch full episodes? No.
yeah. Okay. And here we are. Now you mentioned finding your birth parents. Let's get into that.
Okay, so I'll back up. 2011. This was my second attempt at finding my birth mother. I had tried in the 90s, failed. But if you want to see that, you can go back and look at the early episodes. I won't get into that piece there.
Yep. Go
Here,
back. Go
go
back.
back. But, and I was much younger. Let's put that out there too. I was only like 19, 20. And in hindsight, I was not ready. Anyway, so it's good that it didn't happen then because I wasn't ready. So in 2011, the laws in the state of Illinois changed, and you were now able to get a copy of your original birth certificate. And for those that don't know, when you are adopted, you get a new birth certificate once you're adopted with your adoptive parents' information on it. So there's another birth certificate floating around out there if you're an adoptee. There are still some states that will not allow you to access that, even today in 2025. And it's a fight. And for up until 2011, you couldn't access it in the state of Illinois. So that law changed. And I do mean the day that it changed, I dropped my request into the mail, the very day that the law changed. That was in November. In April of 2012, I received my original birth certificate, and it would be the first time that I would see my birth mother's name, which was a very first and last name was very rare. It wasn't like Sally Williams, if you will, very
Yeah.
rare name, especially for a woman. And I remember just staring at it and being like, wow, okay, this is her name. And for me, there was no first name. It said baby girl, and then the last name. So if she did name me, it was not on paper. I am not one of those, you do hear about adoptees whose names have been changed. Mine just said baby girl. And this was in 2012. Now I have the last name. And I jump on Facebook in the city of Chicago because I'm only assuming because I do know that's where I'm born. Let me back up a little bit. The information that I was spoon fed growing up was that she was 15 when she had me. I always knew I was born in Chicago. I had a brother that was 2 years older than me and the adoption agency. So that's the information that I had that I had. So I knew outside of her, there was a brother. But what I had always fantasized about a lot more than her was him. I
Who's
don't,
that?
know. I don't know. A big brother. But I also remember being fearful if I ever found him, would he be dead? Would he be in jail? Would he be a drug kingpin? because of the environment that I had an inkling that I came from. Only thing I knew was I was born in Cook County Hospital, and I know that's on the south side of Chicago. And common sense told me enough to, if she had 2 kids by 15, something was going on there. And I can tell you, and I don't know why, but that's kind of the reason why I was just never mad, because I was like, yeah, 15, 2 kids. And this is without me even knowing the real story, the realness of the situation. So I took to Facebook and I started looking for this last name. And it's like 48 hours went by in a blur. I don't know if I ate. I don't know if my kids ate. I don't know if my husband ate. Did they sleep? Did I go to work? It's a blur.
Gosh, what happened?
Right. It's like, have I been sitting on the sofa for 2 days right
The
now?
whole time.
No.
Didn't move. Gosh.
And lo and behold, I find a guy who fits the city, has the last name, and we have a person in common who so happens to be a cousin of mine on my adoptive side. So I reach out to said cousin and I'm like, hey, can you please reach out to this person and find out what his mother's name is? And can I tell you, now this I remember very, very clear. For whatever reason, for the first time since I had gotten my original birth certificate, I slept like a rock that night. I just slept.
On a cellular level, maybe it gave you clearly, it gave you some type of relief, answer to some type of mystery, whether conscious or unconscious.
Maybe, yeah. Because I remember that was that first night and I slept hard. And I do remember getting up and getting dressed for work. So clearly I had been going to work.
I did go.
That morning, I remember getting up, getting dressed, and pulling out of the driveway. And my cousin texts me, call me.
Pull up. Let me pull over real quick.
Look, no, I'm backing out the driveway. Let me throw this car and park real quick. I hadn't even left the house. And he said, his mother's name is, and I said, oh my God, I just found my birth brother. So it took me a minute. I shoot off a message on Facebook, and then I had to wait 24 hours because that's how long it took him to respond.
And may I interject?
Yes.
You sent me a picture and you said, does this guy look like me? And I was like, yeah, is that your cousin? Because I don't think I knew what you'd found, what you'd uncovered, but you were just like, who does this look like to you? I was like, that's your family member? Who is that? And then you told me what you thought.
Doing.
Yeah.
I don't even remember doing that, but that's probably in that blur moment that I don't remember nothing.
I looked at him and I was, okay, this is.
Yeah. So he responded 24 hours later and he was like, big sis, hey. And I was like, maybe I got the timeline wrong. Maybe. And I was like, what year were you born? And he told me. I was like, actually, I'm your younger sister. So I find out very quickly I'm the family secret. If you were not my mother's age or older, you did not know any of this ever happened, including him because he was only too little to remember.
Yeah.
So that was the start of our relationship. And I met him. I found out I have a younger brother that's 11 years younger than me. I started talking to all these people on the phone. I meet cousins. And very quickly, I jump on the plane. He paid for it. And I had all of my cousins. Now, let me say this. I grew up going back and forth to Chicago because on my father's side, my adoptive father, for this content, my adoptive father had all his siblings most of his siblings were in Chicago. So we would go back and forth to the city quite a bit on vacation. So I had all of them on alert. This is what I'm doing. This is where I'm at. If it goes south, come get me. And everybody was like, where you at? Where does he live? But it was fine. It was none of that. But they was all on high alert.
Let me know where I need to be. Just get a ooh, ooh,
Right.
bat signal. We are on
Come
the
get me.
way.
But
We're coming.
it was none of that. It was none of that. I was there for a couple of days and I met my maternal grandmother and she apologized to me. And I remember I told her, I was like, thank you and I understand, but I need you to know I was never upset. I had a very good life. And in there, I do talk to my birth mother on the phone. I found out she was actually in Alabama. So I didn't meet her till the next year. But we'll get into that. So my first meeting was my brother and this whole family and whatever. So this is a lesson in hindsight. My energy going in was hot. I had all the questions. I'm excited to be here because I've had a lifetime to process this. Unlike my brother, who's like, girl, wait. And the family unit, while small, it's not a tight knit family unit. I don't know nothing about that. On both sides, I come from a large, tight knit family unit. So they move real different. And at first, I used to take that personal. But over time, I'm like, oh, girl, this ain't about you. This is just how they move. This is all they know. This is generations of what they do. But that took some years. I came in just like with the little Yorkies. Yeah, that was me.
Yeah.
And everybody's looking at it. And I had all the questions that my brother couldn't answer. I did have an older cousin. She could fill in some of the blanks for me from what she remembered. They all came to meet me. And the older people were like, we remember. So when you're doing a search and reunion journey and it's information that you've been quote unquote privileged, and then when you meet people and they either never thought you were coming back, because that's the sentiment I got, girl, we never thought you was coming back. Or, they just didn't know, give them a minute.
Yeah.
I didn't do that.
I mean, because thinking from someone who I'm not adopted, but so I'm thinking of it, you're coming into this family, their way of life, like you said, whoa, this is a shakeup. It's shaking the foundation of everybody.
Yeah.
And you're excited and they're like, okay, welcome, but hold on.
Yes.
Just
give me a minute.
Ooh, slow down. I can imagine someone just showing up, and even if they knew, but like you said, they in their minds, they never expected.
I was never supposed to come back. As a matter of fact, they were like, so where have you been all these years? And I was like, in Florida. They were like, Florida? When did you move there? As an adult? No. At 1, because the story that they got from my grandmother was she knew who had me. It was some hairdresser, and she knew where I was.
Really?
And I was like, is your mama a hairdresser? And I was like, no. What? I'm like, why y'all asking me? And then they told me, and I was like, yeah, no.
So they assumed you were still in Chicago with this said hairdresser?
Because that's what they were told. And so I only imagine that's what my grandmother had to do to make it okay for her. And no, she had no clue where I was because this was a closed adoption. And then in the 70s, when they say closed, they mean closed. They mean you're not getting any information on this end, and we're not giving you any information. I had what they call non-identifying information, my birth weight, my birth time, nothing that I could say and it could connect me back to anybody. As a matter of fact, to be honest with you, even though I was able to get my original birth certificate, my case is still closed. We've just found other ways to go around the system at this point in the game.
I have to sit with it. Like, I know. I have to sit with that because I'm listening as a listener and hearing your story and hearing the podcast. It just makes, I have all the feels because I can only imagine, I can hear your side. And then again, as a person who's not adopted, I can understand if someone were to show up in my family, what that would be like, what that would mean. And so it's this, that's why it's so good.
And that's one of the lessons. Don't come in hot.
Don't come in.
But I didn't know anybody that had done that. I didn't have a blueprint.
Yeah. Which is why you're doing the work. And look at God. Look how you're helping people so that they don't make that mistake
Yeah.
of coming in a little too hot.
And I came in hot for years.
Mm,
It wasn't a quick lesson.
no.
No, it was years of frustration. I'll fast forward a year later. My husband and I took the trip to Alabama to meet my birth mother for the first time. And where our hotel was versus where she lived, it was like we were on one exit and then her apartment was the next exit up. So we stopped at the hotel first. And in between our exit and her exit, I told Jimmy, you got to pull over. I thought I was about to be sick. My stomach was just with nervous excitement, just my gosh, I'm about to lay eyes on the woman that gave birth to me. And he was like, you all right? So I pulled it together. I didn't get sick, but I pulled it together. We get there. And my first thought was, my God, life has been so hard on her. And I'm disappointed because I don't see my genetic mirror, meaning I don't look like her. And everything that I had made up in my world, which is so beautiful,
Of who this person
of
was.
who this person was, she was none of it. Because I had decided maybe the way that I am, the education that I have, the things that I've done, and I hadn't even done a whole lot at that point, to be honest with you, if you compare it to the things I've done at this point. Maybe, she's done some of the same things. Maybe we'll bond over some of the same. It was none of that. It was, put it like this. We went to Starbucks and she had never been to a Starbucks. It was that. The little stuff that we take for granted because it's just what we do. It was that. And I continuously over the years had those types of experiences with her because I did go through Alabama on a couple of occasions to see her. And I never stayed for long because also with her, I came in hot. I had all the questions. So I remember that we got there Friday. By Friday evening, I'm like, okay, so do you know anything about my birth father? Oh, girl, hot. And what I didn't understand in that moment, and I said this recently, I found a broken person who has swept all this under the rug. She didn't even remember my birthday. I had to tell her. And for me, and again, this is the old Tarcia before she grew up a little bit. Like, I remember getting back to the hotel, like, how you don't remember my birthday? How do you don't remember the day you gave birth to somebody? Yeah, I get how. Because when something is so traumatizing and your brain finds a way to protect you and says, you know what, we're going to tuck this way in the back and we're going to leave that right there. And when you don't go get the help and you don't go get the therapy or whatever, and you choose to, as my brother put it, you choose to continue to walk around with a limp because you don't go get the help. That was her. But I didn't know that. So I'm frustrated because you're not answering my questions. The only piece of information I had about my birth father on my birth certificate was age 17. All it said. She did give me a name. If you look at my early episodes, she did tell me and my brother that we had the same birth father, that we had the same father. So we went for years and we're like, we're full siblings because that's what we were told. But even in that, her conversation could never really get past, I see there's a hurricane coming. Y'all all right down there? She had some health challenges. Baby girl, I'm headed to the hospital or I'm in the hospital. And these were periodic conversations. These weren't. So it never, it never blossomed into anything. And at some point, and it took me a couple of years, I had to decide you are going to have to be okay with who she is because she's giving you the best that she can. And you're going to have to learn how to show grace. That was a hard lesson for me. And it got to the point where and I didn't hear from her very often. And if I reached out, she may or may not answer the phone. And I was like her, if she called or text, I would be like, what's wrong now? That would be my thought because that's the only time I would hear from her. And I had to be okay with that. This is just what it is because she, and early on, she wanted to build a narrative for me of the person who either she wanted to be or may have been at some point in time, which was I was a homebody. I really didn't do much. I liked going to school. Okay, girl, you had 2 kids by 15. And then the stories I got from the elders was real different than the story that she was giving. It painted a different picture. And then, which I never told her, I found her rap sheet in digging. And that lined up to the stuff that I had. And I was like, all this makes sense. Got it. And I'm sure by the time I showed up, she was not that person, but she's not going to share that history. But she never, ever shared any of that with me. And I never told her I knew.
Because like you said, it's almost arrested development. That's where she stopped with that part of her life.
Yeah. Yeah.
And moving forward, and again, similar to showing up with the other family, you weren't supposed to come back.
Was not supposed to come back. So here's what I learned. And when I tell people who have this adoption experience, and this hits differently with different people, but when I said thank you for putting me up for adoption, this is what I learned. The situation, my birth mother and my grandmother were pregnant at the same time. I have an aunt that's 6 months older than me. That's trauma all by itself, because think about it. You give birth to a baby girl that you just left at the hospital, and you had to come home to a baby girl. And if you know anything about these 70s family structures in the hood with the single mother, that oldest girl is getting ready to be taking care of that baby girl. This is hindsight. This is Tarcia growing up. This is Tarcia sitting with this and thinking about it. So let's start. That's one. Number two, there's no therapy. We're going to leave that baby girl at the hospital. Come on to the house. You got school tomorrow. You know what I'm saying? Like, we going to keep it pushing. And we're not talking about it. Trauma.
And if I understand correctly, after she gave birth, they let her hold you.
I don't know how she did it, but yeah. In my paperwork, it says that I spent the first 24 hours with her. And as somebody that has given birth.
24 hours of looking at this baby, this beautiful baby, holding and touching on her. And then, like you
Possibly
said,
even nursed me.
it's possible. Skin to skin, a connection. And then, like 24 hours later,
You go home with no baby.
No baby, but go home to your sibling.
Yeah.
That you then have to take care of.
Yeah.
Most likely, or here, or just, it's a baby.
And she nicknamed her, and that to this day we still call her by that nickname. So my brother says, and has said on a couple of occasions, I'm so glad you were not here because it was rough. And I would have had to not only watch my back, but I would have had to watch your back too, because you're a female. So I'm glad that you weren't here, and thank God that you were not here. It was rough. And I heard that from a lot of family members. Thank God you were not here because the things they were going through. My brother talks about he was hungry a lot, just that little bit, because my grandmother, she just did the best that she knew how. Because at some point, I think when my older brother was like 10 or 11, my mother was out.
And left him with the grandmother.
So she didn't raise any of us. Because then all these years later, she comes back pregnant with another, and a story just from what I've heard, she comes back with my younger brother, drops him off, gone again. And my younger brother tells a story that he was about 20, and she popped back up, and he was like, he says, she was like, hey. And he's like, hey.
Because he didn't know who she was?
He knew who she was, but girl, ain't nobody seen you in years.
She just like one day, hey.
Hey. Came back for a
What's
wedding.
Up?
Came back for a wedding. So it was rough. And that's what I was born into. And then plucked out of. And then I'm way on the other side of this fence, train tracks. And then my brother's way over here on the other side of the train track. But my brother survived and is doing excellent. Everything that he should have been, he was none of it because he had godparents that stepped in. at an early age. He was like a teenager, and they were like, come on. And then the rest of that is his story. So whenever he's ready to tell that story, but just know that anything that the stats say he should have been, he was none of it. He is none of it. Need a minute?
I need a minute. I like, and you and I have talked, and so I've heard it, but it just hits because there's just so much.
It's so much.
So much that you could have been and who you are. And as we get into the story a little bit more, it always brings up the question with adoption, usually nature versus nurture. And I say that purposely for when we get into your father's story. But now you've been faced with the world you could have been in from where the world you were raised in. But you said you always felt different. You felt something and wondered where that came from. Let's get into that.
Okay, so October of 2023, because at this point I'm talking to all of these people and we are having side conversations, and they were like, have you ever considered taking a DNA test? And I was like, I have, but I hadn't done it yet. So through the encouragement of former guests, and shout out to the Birth Finder podcast, he was like, let's go. And I did it. And in November 2023, I received my results. My closest relative was that I now know is a half first cousin. And I reached out. She did respond. And I did reach out to a couple other people, but I didn't get responses. She did respond. I explained to her what I was trying to do and who I was, and she said she would help. And she knew where we were. Her words were, I know you're related. We just got to find out who you belong to. So I gave her the only information that I had was a name, and then the birthday or the age that was on my birth certificates. The name, she was like, who? We'll have, I don't know anybody with that name.
In this family?
Yeah, we don't have. And then I'll also say this: the last name that I was given, I'm looking for this last name.
Yeah,
it is non-existent. Even in distant relatives, that last name is nowhere. And so, long story short, I'll skip over all the roller coaster ride that it took to land. But when I finally land, I find out that my birth father's name is not what she said, and he was not 17 at the time. What I did find out was he and I had a birthday. His birthday was the day before mine. And so the day before I was born, he turned 22. And when I found him about 8 years prior, he had suffered a stroke. So he was bedridden and in a nursing home. And I did go, just like I did the first time. A couple of weeks later, I'm back on a plane to Chicago, but I didn't go by myself this time. This time my husband came with me. And he was in and out cognitively, but he had no recollection of who my birth mother was. I gave the name. I asked a couple of his siblings. And what I quickly remember, oh, y'all were in the hood. She probably went by some nickname. Y'all never knew her real name for real.
yeah.
And so one of my uncles was like, she do kind of look familiar from back in the day, but I don't know what that girl name might have been. So my birth father, he couldn't give me much. So I don't know what that was. I know that's a big old age gap. I know she was a minor. I can only come up with my own. I don't know. Was she someplace she ain't had no business being? I don't know. Did he for real know how old she was? I don't know. Was it something else? I don't know. All I know is I'm here. Whatever y'all were doing, I'm a result of it. That's all we know. So what I learned on my birth father side is that I was the family rumor. And the aunties that had all the tea that would bring me up periodically through the years, unfortunately, they had already passed away by the time I got there. So I'm getting tea from their kids. Auntie said, da da da, da da da. I am the oldest on that side. And so he had not married and started having kids, the rest of my siblings yet. I'm 2 years older than what he thought was his oldest. And so that was good because at least I'm not coming in there in between people, which means there was some cheating going on.
Yeah. Math ain't mathin'.
Right. So that was good that I'm the oldest. And I had to sit down and meet my sisters, and we had to have this long talk and figure all this stuff out, and we landed in a good place. Now I find my genetic mirror. It's on that side. Now I figure out this is where the music comes from. This is where the dancing comes from. This is where the sense of humor comes from. And I'm not saying they don't have a sense of humor on the other side, but I saw some stuff that I was like, this is where this hair comes from. That hair on top of his head. I saw stuff and I was like, okay. And someone recently on my show said, as an adoptee, when you see yourself for the first time in somebody else, it's like a hug. It's something that non-adoptive people take for granted because you're just in it. Of course, I look like my mama. I look like my daddy. I look like Auntie so-and-so. I look like because those are your people. Why would you think about any other thing? But for an adoptee, the first time I saw anybody that looked like me was when I had my oldest son. He came here looking just like me. Over time, he has morphed into his father.
Yeah.
But God gave me that in that moment. And it never even occurred to me that he would come here looking like me. I never had that thought. But that is the first thought that I had when I saw him for the first time. Oh, this boy looks just like me. I'd never seen that before. Fast forward many years later, I meet this side of the family, and now I have a whole bunch of people running around here.
And I mean, again, you sent me a picture of the people, and it's, oh yes. Now the brother, you can see it. I said he's some kin to you,
It's them
as they say.
sisters. It's those girls.
The whole face.
It's those girls. So
Whole
much so,
face.
before I went up there to meet them, I had a picture of my baby sister. And I had sent it to my kids. And my kids were like, you went up there already? I'm like, that's not me.
Yep. Yeah.
Like, that's not me.
His whole face.
Yeah.
All of y'all have
Yeah.
his whole face.
Yeah. And so on that side, it's been, the relationship is different. I have relationship with my brothers, and the only thing I can say is maybe because on this side they do family kind of like how we do family, and they're girls, so it's different. It looks different on this side. So found him in November 2023, and I was able to be in his presence twice. And what I did not know, I FaceTimed him 2 weeks before he would pass away. And that was in March of 2024. And our last conversation, I always say this, I had more laughter and giggles with him in those 3 occasions than I ever had with my birth mother in all those years. Even with him being sick and kind of being in and out and maybe needing to repeat something when he said it because of the speech or whatever, he was a clown, and I could see that. Very much so. You could see it. Before he passed away, I was able to tell him who his father was because he never knew. I was able to show him a picture of his birth father. DNA also crept in on him too because he was the oldest of 8 children, the only one to play bass and sing. That DNA. from that other side of the family that he didn't know. Dana be out here.
Dana.
Dana be out here telling on folks and
Dana.
showing up in folks, and you don't even know where it's coming from. Yeah. So, yeah. And so our last conversation before we got off the phone that day, because we had birthdays coming up, and he was like, "What you getting me for my birthday?" And I was like, "I'm here. It's early.
Me.
Here I am." And I was like, "What you get me for my birthday?" He kind of had the same answer.
Mm-hmm.
I would never get that opportunity because the day before his birthday, I was laying him to rest. And that kind of grief is different. And I don't even know how to quite put that into words, because from the outside and even to non-adoptive people, it's very easy to be like, "Oh, you didn't know them people for real. You didn't know him." Because, yeah.
Again, on a cellular level. And then you see this person who looks like you. You look like him. And you're realizing some of your traits come from him. So it's almost like that piece that you found, that connection, and you want to dig and you want to get more information. And then it seemed like he was willing to try at his
You would
best
have.
to tell you as much as possible.
You
and
would have.
just give you the things that you were looking for, coming in hot years ago with the other side. God bless his soul. He would have tried.
Yeah.
And so all of that is the grief.
And I want to say this. When I found him in November of 2023, at this point, with my birth mother, I have landed in a place of, this is who she is. You got to be okay with it. But I called her to tell her I had found him, and it was not who she said it was. And I gave the name. She goes, "Well, yeah, you do look just like them." And I said, "Okay." And I was like, "Well, yeah, I just wanted to let you know." And she was like, "Okay, well, then I'll talk to you later. I'm so happy for you." I'm not going to say I wasn't agitated, but it's like it lines right up with, it lines right up with everything else that you've done or how you've been down through the years. I don't, if you had given me something different, I would have been surprised. Now, did she really remember him? I will never know. I just know what she said on that day.
And again, that trauma of her life, and you say it showed up in her physical being, that she lived a life.
Mm-hmm.
That was her only way to just hear that and discard it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh yeah, you too. How's the weather?
So, because I had gone as far as to take this DNA test and find these people, my brother, I was like, "You should take one." And my brother has always had the sentiment, "Girl, you keep trying to pull me and I don't want to come. Stop." "I don't want to do this." And I just said, "Well, the name that she gave me was wrong. And I know what she told us, that we had the same father." So he took the test. We do not have the same father. Now, that name that she gave him, that last name shows up in his stuff. So that might be his father. But he's never taken the time to dig like I would have dug, and probably would have found out what it was. And until he's ready to do that, or if he ever wants to do that, I'm gonna leave that alone, because that's his story, that's his prerogative, it's his.
Yep.
Even though the little curiosity in me is like, "Oh, I want to know," but
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna leave that alone.
Mm-mm. Yep.
But at least we found out we are not full siblings. Only
After
person we share
years.
because that's what we were told. So this is what my adoption journey has looked like in search and reunion.
And now the recent events with her.
Yeah. So in September, she did pass away. She had been sick. It didn't feel the same way that it did when I lost my birth father. It felt very different. And the one thing that I learned about this side of the family is that they bond in trauma. And what I mean by that is they only show up when the thing happens. Other than that, for the most part, they don't get together like that. Most of them are right there in the same vicinity, not, in the suburbs and, not too far from each other. They don't move like that. Now, I had gone when my grandmother passed away in 28. No, let me back up. The top of 2018, I had an aunt who passed away suddenly, which would have been my mother's sister. I went up for her service. The end of 2018, my grandmother passed away. I went for her service. And then this happens. And at first, I told my brother I was already going to be in the city for another event. And I was going to step away from this event. And I was like, you can do it on this date at this time, and I'll be there. And I had told my sister, you got something to do on this date at this time because I'm not doing this by myself.
Okay. Voluntold.
And she was like, I got you, sis. Because this sounds like this going to be good.
See? Cutting up. She was down.
She was so down. Gosh. But I'm like, yeah, I'm going to need you to pick me up from here. And then I'm going to go there. And then I'm going to need to drop me back off. And she's like, got you. And that just goes to show that relationship that we've built. So the very next day, I said, girl, what are you talking to myself? Girl, what are you doing? You're only getting ready to go to this service because society says you should be there. And how I was feeling in the moment, I realized I was at peace with her. I had been at peace with her. My hurt was coming from the lack of what I never was able to get from the family. And in that moment, I was like, I don't feel like going just because she passed away and being in the midst of all the things. I'm not going. So I told my brother in a very corporate way, I was like, after careful consideration.
Okay. All right.
I did.
Wait a minute.
I have decided to not attend the service. And he responded in a very corporate way. He was like, text received.
Avoidance all up in there.
All the way around. Yeah. But he did stay in contact. And just so you know, she was cremated. That's why there was no like huge rush. I'll just throw that out there because I know y'all think in the beginning of September and the early, yeah. That's why. But I didn't want to do it. I was not interested in being in the midst of people who I haven't talked to in forever. I didn't want to do it. So I didn't go. Even though I was in the city, I was there. And I know he was hoping that I changed my mind. They did acknowledge me. I did send a couple of pictures for the obituary, but I was not there. And even my mom was like, take a dress just in case you change your mind. I said, Mom, I'm not going. I said, I have a dress, but it's not for that. And I don't regret my decision because it's what I needed to do for me. So on the day of her service, I was at my event and I never gave my brother my full itinerary. He just knew I was in the city. And I was beginning an event and I get a text and I looked down and he had dropped the link to the service and her obituary. And I can honestly say that kind of took my breath away a little bit because I wasn't expecting it. And I was like, oh, okay. So later that night when I was settled, because I had a day full of events, I went back to my hotel room and he himself actually had traveled out of state. And so he was at a hotel room and we talked that night. And for the first time since she had passed away, did I actually cry. It's like I just let it all out. And I explained to him exactly why I couldn't be there, what this has been like. And it's just, this adoption thing and what I have not been able to get from the family. It was just too much and I just couldn't do it. And he understood as much as he could understand. He said he was never angry. He didn't judge me or anything like that, but he was like, this must be more than a notion. So at this point, I have lost both of them. And it feels so weird to even think about that. As an adoptee, to still have my parents, but to have lost both of my birth parents. That's a weird place to be.
Because you come from this loving family. You have a loving mother, but there's a mother wound there.
Yeah.
and what do they call it? Daddy issues deep down, which is, as your friend, I was like, it's time. Let's find a licensed
Just
therapist
there.
to help you process all of this.
Yeah.
Because why you found peace and had to do what you had to do to protect yourself and not going.
I know.
Yeah.
And you know
And
how I know for sure? Because somebody, a cousin who I had not heard from in probably 2.5 years, and she didn't even text me to offer condolences. But that night, she texted me, "Hey, I'm not sure why you weren't there. Get off my phone." I was so annoyed by that because now, what are you doing but being nosy? But I was very annoyed by that.
because you have told yourself that, yes, I should be there because of society, but all in all, she still was your mother. And so that impact of that text message with the obituary and the link, how it hit you like
Yeah.
that unexpectedly, because you
Mm-hmm.
thought, I'm good. I'm doing what I have to do.
Mm-hmm.
It like
Yeah. Yeah.
kind of tried to
Yeah.
pop that. And so again, as your friend, therapy for Black girls. Did I not?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because that's how I found my therapist. And we've been rocking for a while. But because while I've seen your growth in this story, but that's a lot. And you're doing an excellent job. You have done an excellent job of processing and working through all these things. But there's something,
There's things.
there are things
There's things.
things that need to be, let's just work on it.
Work on it. Yeah.
Let's
But
just
that's a
work on it.
part of the growth. And I honestly,
Yeah.
truly believe, had I never started the podcast, I would not have this kind of growth. Because why? What would have pushed me? What would have pushed me into this? What would have changed my thinking about things? And I was already kind of looking at myself in that mirror, but what would have really made me start to take this hard look like, girl, get your life all the way together, and it is not always about you. And it's a hard thing. So the podcast has been for me too.
Look at that. You've been helping people, but they've been helping you too.
They've been helping me.
God.
Mm-hmm.
And specifically out of this and helping, you've created something else special.
Yes. So Black Adoptees Meetup.
Yep. Show it. Show it. Show it.
So Dr. Catherine Garland and myself were sitting around just having a conversation one day, literally just on the phone, kiki giggling. And we were like, where are the Black people in this adoption space? The Asians have their space. The BIPOC community has their space. The Hispanics have their space. The white people definitely have their space. Where are we at? So we decided on a whim, let's throw something together. Call it Black Adoptees Meetup, because that's what we're about to do. This is not a conference. And let's go to Atlanta, because that's a good middle space. So we came up with this itinerary. And when I tell you, it was like quick. We came up with this itinerary and we just put it out there. And 25 people came from all over the country, right? And one of the biggest things that we have heard over and over is it's the thing I did not know I needed, because I've never been in a space that's just Black adoptees, because there's things culturally I don't have to explain.
Yeah.
And then I can say something about my story and you're gonna get it. Or I was raised with a white family and I get to come into a space of Black adoptees and be exposed and touch and grow to my culture that I haven't necessarily been able to do or didn't know how to do. And we weren't even halfway through the weekend and people were like, where are we going next year? We was like,
Whoa.
can we get
Wow.
time out? Can we get through this weekend first?
Plan it. They were ready.
They were ready. So we hit the ground running. And in 2025, October, we went to Chicago and did it all over again. This time we had 30 people, to include one person all the way from the UK.
Global,
Global.
international. You're helping people.
All the way from the UK, which shows you how important this is. But just like the podcast, we had no idea. It's like you know, but you don't like know. And it's a space. I think one of the attendees this year, this was her first time coming. Her name is Alicia. The way she described it was like you're anticipating going to this family reunion, and you know they're all your first cousins and you've never met any of them before. And when you got there, it was nothing but love. That's how she described it. And it's so crazy because nobody ever has the verbiage. It's like you just got to be in the room. I am really looking for verbiage to put to it because it's just an experience. We laugh, we joke. They tell their, if you want to tell your story, you can. If you don't feel like it, you don't have to. If you want to cry, you can cry. It's just a space where we can just be without having to explain all the things. Because there's another layer of being adopted when you're Black. That's another thing. Because number one, it is still very taboo in this community. We don't want to talk about it. That is house business. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That is family business. It's still very taboo. And what I recently learned, because I did a little mini meetup here in Orlando, because a young lady approached me at church because I had this logo on. And to come to find out, she's a Black adoptee. And she was like, I've been looking for a space, a community. Therapy is good. I love my family, but they don't always get it.
Here you are creating this space.
It's a space. When I figure out what verbiage to put to it, I'll let y'all know. So we're going to Philly in 2026.
Philly.
October 2nd through the 4th. And not only do I want to give a shout out to the Black adoptees, but I want to give a special shout out to the spouses, the siblings, the friends, the allies that showed up both years with their Black adoptee for support. Yeah. We have a local friend, Mr. Garrett. He tells a story that he came. This was his first year coming. He had a couple of friends with him. And what I didn't know and what he didn't know was we met at the Navy Pier that night. And when he came in, like I knew he was there, but what we didn't know, his friends was off in the cut because he had told them, okay, if this is trash, I'm making an excuse, I'm out, and I'm not going to see them nowhere.
Yes, an escape plan. If I give you the signal.
But he was going to text them, but he did not know they were in the building at a distance somewhere. I am proud to say he did not have to make that text.
Nope.
And had an amazing weekend. But it just goes to show you that when people come in, they're willing to come in. They're just a little nervous. They don't know, okay, what's this about? And then they get there. And again, the weekend is only halfway through. Where are we going next year? Listen, when we get to Philly, don't ask me where we going.
PSA, repeat that.
Don't you ask me where we going in 2027. Let's get through the weekend.
Let's enjoy the
time that we have in Philly. So registration will open in January. So go to blackadopteesmeetup.org. Look for the registration. It'll be blasted out everywhere, and don't wait to register. And that's all I'm going to say about that.
Friend, you know, watching you on this journey from, again, you showing me this picture of this man.
Are you sure I did that? That's so crazy. Yes. I don't even remember doing it. I'm sure I did. Yeah. It adds up, but I don't even remember doing that.
Texting this picture of this man to where we are now, just by you opening up and sharing your story. By something touching you, God was like, okay, it's time. That whisper in your ear, it's time.
With 3 episodes, God, that's it.
That's it. And he was like, oh, okay. Sure. Let me let you think that.
3 episodes. That's it.
You have work to do. That's what he said. It won't be easy. It hasn't been easy, but you have work to do. And your purpose and your way of service has led to this.
In a space where, at least for Black adoptees, there's like the blueprint is almost non-existent. There were like Black to the Beginning, shout out to them. That's the first podcast that I came across when I started looking. I'm like, who's out here? It was them. And then if you would Google Black adoptee or Black and adopted, a black cat might come up or a black dog.
Okay.
No, I'm serious. I'm dead serious. So I understand now that people like the host of the Black to the Beginning, their podcast, my podcast, Yes, We Adopt, we are laying down things for the next generation. So when they Google, will come up. These experiences, these resources will come up, and they don't have to see adoption. You want to adopt a black dog?
Great. But also, I can't believe that.
It's not talked about. We are on the ground floor, and that's just as little as 5-6 years ago, Phyllis. This ain't 15, 20 years ago.
Yeah. And because knowing our culture, let's go back. If someone adopted, think about that woman who came to that decision to adopt.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know if just biologically she wasn't able to. Things happen. And so she's like, this is my baby.
Mm.
And I have this opportunity now to raise this child. And what I like about your podcast also, you've had adoptees, but parents. And so you're educating now. And shout out to your parents who have given you this space. It's like, okay, I love you. I need you to know that I love you. I'm appreciative
Absolutely.
of what you did. You've
Absolutely.
helped to make me the woman I am today. That is separate. That's a whole, we're not touching that. This has nothing to do with who you are to me in my life. I just need to know about me.
And I had to say that to my mom. I felt, not that she said anything, but I said that to my mom early on. Like when I first found, I was like, I need you to know that I'm not trying to replace you.
Yeah.
And she understood. I think it's good what you're doing. You need to know who you are. But I think even in that was growth for her, because I guarantee you, had you asked her that when I was like 15 or 16, no ma'am.
You're mine. You're my child. That's all
What
you
are
need
you
to
doing?
know.
That's all you need to know.
What?
And then, like you
Yeah.
said, the work.
The work. And what I've noticed as a listener, you have some guests who have done the work and the realization. And then there's some that you're like, ooh, when you get
When you
there,
have that light bulb moment.
when you get there, circle back.
Circle back. Or some people
Because
that
it's hard.
think they're ready to tell the story.
Yes.
And then they come on and I go in and I'm like, oh, I got to pull back because I ain't ready for real.
They hadn't even thought about.
Now I'm ready.
They didn't even think about what you could even ask.
Yeah.
And I have friends who I've referred the podcast to. I said, I think you should listen and maybe one day be a guest. They're not ready. And that's their personal journey.
We don't talk about it in the Black community. It's very taboo. We've been made to feel ashamed. We've been made to, like, it's a secret. Some people don't even find out till they're almost 40 years old. Yeah. So to the Black people, I'm here. And I'm not the only resource out here. We're out here. And when you're ready, and we don't even have to record, just need somebody to talk to. We're out here.
That's a word.
We're out here.
Because clearly it's needed.
Mm-hmm.
It's needed. And for people who haven't been adopted, are thinking about adopting, I would say listen to this podcast and just pay attention. Just listen, just be a witness. And if you've already adopted, a child, maybe have it so that when they're ready, and if they're ready, you can provide as many answers as you can. And remember that it's when that search is not about you.
And please don't adopt and then don't tell them that they're adopted. Please stop doing that. You're doing more harm than good. Because if you wait too late and they do find out, or how they find out, it could be ugly. Tell them while they're young. Age appropriate language. There's books. There's all kinds of stuff out. Tell them. I know that's your baby, but tell them.
That's your baby. And it takes work. It's going to take work on self-introspection.
Yeah. But that's got to come before you adopt.
Now you said a word there, because if you're thinking, I just want a baby, I want to help, I want to save this child, that's usually how people go into it. And you are loving this beautiful baby who has been given up for adoption. But that baby has a story.
That baby has people. That baby has a whole other biological family.
And what's really interesting when you talk about it is when adoptees then have children and they think about these medical things, or if something is going on with them, that they're like, wait, I don't know how this will affect my child. That's when you need to have an idea of where you come from.
Yeah. And to each his own, because there are some adoptees that just don't want to know. The only thing I'll say to that is that medical piece for me. It's that medical piece. I'm not saying you got to go have a relationship, but get the medical, which is why you should want to know all by itself. But to each his own. I know the journey is not for everybody, but that's just something to think about.
Keep doing the work, friend.
Thank you, friend.
Because when that person who may not be ready right now, years from now, after Philly, where you gonna be? We won't go there. But a year or two from now, the work that you're continuing to do, that's when they may have that light bulb, like, wait a minute, who am I?
Oof.
Because we should be asking that of ourselves, period. But then you all are asking it on a deeper level, like, no, who am I? I know I'm the Lord's. I know I'm God's child, but who
am I? Before we end, I want to give a humongous, I'm not going to start calling out names, but every single person that has ever come on the show, I thank you so much. I thank you for every single person that's been in the background, that has been intricate in the growth of me, the podcast, Black Adoptees Meetup, just every single person. I thank you from the bottom of my heart, because here we are at episode 100. Woo! Thank you, P. McCrae.
Thank you
for doing this, for this 100th episode. She's a pro now. So everything has changed podcast. Her and Shonda Head. Y'all are ready for your guest now. You ready?
We're ready for our guest. And honestly, thank you, because you've inspired me to do this. I would talk about it. You're like, girl, just get a mic and put it in front of the camera and sit down and talk.
Literally.
And I was like, I can't do that.
You can. You can.
What I'm gonna do? What
you can get the mic. Get you a cute wall behind you, like you do. Throw some pictures up there, or not, and just go.
That's it. So thank you.
And on that note, bye, family.
Journey on. You need a pie. What they get good? Oh yeah, what the one?